Why? Because you don't really exist as that kind of a separate ego or personality. It's just an idea based on a phony feeling. Have you ever felt like something about life didn't quite add up? From the moment you entered this world, you were handed a script, a name, a family, a role. Invisible lines were drawn around your identity, and you were told, this is who you are. This is where you belong. Yet somewhere deep within, a quiet voice whispers, this isn't the whole story, the observer effect and the illusion of reality. What if I told you that everything you've been taught about who you are is a lie? Not in a malicious way, but in a way that reflects humanity's misunderstanding of existence. The truth is far more incredible, more freeing, and perhaps more unsettling than you've ever imagined. You are not a fleeting human here for a brief flicker of time. You are an eternal presence, no beginning, no end. You were never born and you will never die. Science has begun to uncover what mystics and sages have known for centuries. Reality is not what it seems. In the 20th century, physicist John Wheeler, who worked alongside Albert Einstein, proposed the concept of the participatory universe. He suggested that observing reality doesn't just reveal it, it creates it. The act of observation brings something into existence. Without the observer, there is no reality. Think about that for a moment. If observing the universe helps to shape it, who or what is the observer? The obvious answer might be you, but the you that observes isn't the same you that clings to labels and identities. It's not the ego, the name, or the body. It's something deeper, something eternal. In spiritual terms, this is what many traditions call the soul, the higher self, or pure consciousness. The Bhagavad Gita, a revered text in Hindu philosophy, says that which pervades the entire body is indestructible. No one can destroy the imperishable soul. This aligns remarkably well with what modern quantum physics suggests. Reality itself depends on an eternal observing consciousness. The ego, a beautiful, convincing illusion. The ego, the sense of I that defines you as an individual, is a clever illusion. It's the storyteller of your life, the one who says, I was born on this day. I have these traits. I fear this. I want that. But have you ever questioned where this sense of self comes from? If you strip away your name, your memories, your relationships, what's left? Buddhist teachings offer profound insight here. The Buddha taught that the self is not a solid, unchanging thing. It's a collection of experiences, thoughts, and sensations constantly in flux. In other words, the ego is like a river. It looks continuous, but it's never made of the same water twice. This is not to say the ego is bad or unnecessary. It serves a purpose, much like a character in a play. But mistaking the character for the actor creates suffering. When you cling to the ego's story, I am this, I am that, you forget the eternal presence that you truly are. Time, the grand illusion. Time is perhaps the most convincing illusion of all. We live as though it's linear, moving from past to future in a straight line. But is that really true? Einstein's theory of relativity shattered this idea over a century ago. He showed that time isn't fixed. It's fluid, relative, and intertwined with space. At the quantum level, particles don't experience time as we do. They exist in a state of timelessness, where past, present, and future are all one. This isn't just theoretical, it's experiential. Have you ever been so immersed in a moment that time seemed to disappear? Or have you felt a sense of déjà vu, as though you've lived a moment before it happened? These glimpses hint at a deeper truth. Time is a construct of the mind. Beyond it lies eternity. In Zen Buddhism, there's a parable about a man chasing his shadow. No matter how fast he runs, he can't escape it. The wise master says, "Stand still, and it will vanish." Time works much the same way. The harder we try to grasp it, the more it eludes us. But when we step out of the flow of time, When we live fully in the present, we touch the eternal. If time is an illusion, then what are coincidences? What about those moments when everything aligns perfectly, as though the universe itself is speaking to you? Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist, called this synchronicity. He described it as meaningful coincidences that cannot be explained by cause and effect. Have you ever thought of someone only to have them call you moments later? Or found yourself at the right place at the right time, as if guided by an invisible force? These events are not random. They are signs of the deeper interconnectedness of all things. They're reminders that you're not separate from the universe. You are the universe. In indigenous traditions, synchronicity is often seen as a form of communication from the spirit world. The Hopi, for instance, believe that everything in life happens in cycles, interconnected like the threads of a spider's web. When you pay attention to these moments of synchronicity, you begin to see the web for what it truly is, a reflection of your eternal presence. So why does any of this matter? Because when you realize that you are an eternal presence, unbound by time, ego, or even physical reality, you begin to live without fear. Fear, after all, is rooted in the illusion of separation. We fear death because we think it's the end. We fear failure because we think it defines us. We fear loss because we think we can be incomplete. But what if you knew, with every fiber of your being, that you are whole and eternal? That death is not an end, but a transition? That loss is an illusion because nothing real can ever be lost? This is the beginning of understanding the existence loop and your role in it. It's not about rejecting the world or escaping it. It's about seeing through the illusions and living with a deeper awareness of who you really are. Reality is not what you think. Close your eyes for a moment and picture the night sky. Infinite stars scattered across an endless void, galaxies spinning in perfect harmony, their light traveling billions of years to meet your gaze. Now ask yourself, where am I in all of this? Am I a speck, or am I the vastness itself? To answer that, we must journey deeper into the fabric of reality, where quantum physics and ancient spirituality meet. This is not a dry lecture on science or mysticism. It's an exploration of the truth that has been hiding in plain sight. Reality, as you know it, is not solid, fixed, or separate. It is fluid, interconnected, and participatory. John Wheeler, the same physicist who introduced the idea of the participatory universe, later proposed something even more radical, it from bit. In essence, he suggested that the foundation of all reality is not matter but information. Everything, the stars, the trees, your very body, arises from tiny bits of encoded information. This aligns remarkably well with ancient teachings. In Hindu philosophy, the concept of Maya describes the world as an illusion, a projection of consciousness. Similarly, Buddhist texts teach that everything arises from the mind. Even in the Bible, there's the profound statement, "In the beginning was the Word." Words, after all, are information. Wheeler's theory brings us to a stunning realization. Reality doesn't exist independently. It's a co-creation between the observer, you, and the observed. Everything else, the act of perceiving the world, gives it shape and meaning. You are not a passive participant in this process. You are its architect, the observer's role in shifting realities. Have you ever noticed how your thoughts shape your experiences? When you wake up in a bad mood, the day seems to spiral downward. But when you focus on gratitude or joy, life seems to flow more smoothly. This is not just psychology. It's physics. The observer effect, a cornerstone of quantum mechanics, reveals that particles behave differently when observed. Before observation, a particle exists in a state of potential, a cloud of infinite possibilities. The moment you observe it, it chooses a specific state. This is not limited to lab experiments. It applies to life itself. Your thoughts, emotions, and intentions act as observations, collapsing infinite possibilities into the reality you experience. This is why spiritual traditions emphasize mindfulness and positive thinking. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the weaver of the cosmic tapestry. If reality is a field of possibilities, your emotions are the tuning fork. Every emotion vibrates at a specific frequency, and this frequency influences the reality you create. Joy, love, and gratitude resonate at high frequencies, while fear, anger, and despair vibrate much lower. Consider the work of Dr. Masaru Emoto, who studied the effects of thoughts and emotions on water. In his experiments, water exposed to loving words formed beautiful, symmetrical crystals, while water exposed to hatred became chaotic and fragmented. Since the human body is mostly water, imagine the effect your emotions have on your physical and energetic self. This isn't just about feeling good for the sake of it. High-frequency emotions align you with the flow of the universe, creating synchronicity and effortless manifestations. Low-frequency emotions, on the other hand, create resistance, blocking the natural abundance of life. What does this mean for your life? Time and timelessness, the eternal now. When you think about the past, you're not accessing a fixed, unchangeable record. You're reconstructing it in the present moment. Likewise, the future isn't something out there waiting to happen. It's a potential that you're shaping right now. Eckhart Tolle, in his book The Power of Now, explains that the present moment is the only reality. Everything else, past and future, is a mental construct. This idea is echoed in Zen teachings, which describe enlightenment as living fully in the present. But what if I told you that by mastering the present moment, you could also rewrite the past and influence the future? This is not wishful thinking. It's the power of your eternal presence. By changing your perspective on a painful memory, you change its emotional charge, freeing yourself from its grip. Similarly, by aligning your thoughts and emotions with a desired outcome, you create a magnetic pull that draws that future into being. At the heart of every spiritual awakening is the realization that fear is an illusion. Fear arises when we believe in separation, when we think we are alone, vulnerable, and finite. But how can you be alone when you are the observer that creates the universe? How can you be vulnerable when your true self is eternal? Many ancient parables illustrate this truth. One comes from the Upanishads, where a drop of water fears merging with the ocean, thinking it will lose itself. But when it finally lets go, it realizes it is the ocean. Fear is the ego's way of clinging to its story. It whispers, "You are just a drop. Stay small, stay safe." But your soul knows the truth, you are infinite. When you face fear with this awareness, it dissolves like a shadow in the light. The bridge between science and spirit. It's easy to see science and spirituality as opposites, one rooted in logic, the other in faith. But the deeper you dive into both, the more they converge. Quantum physics is now confirming what mystics have said for millennia. Reality is not a solid, objective thing. It's fluid, interconnected, and profoundly influenced by consciousness. Take synchronicity, for example. Carl Jung described it as meaningful coincidences that defy logical explanation. Modern physicists might describe it as non-locality, the idea that particles can influence each other instantaneously across vast distances. Different languages, the same truth. This convergence isn't just academic. It's a call to live differently, to see yourself not as a separate individual, but as a vital part of the cosmic whole. Now that you've glimpsed the quantum connection, you might be wondering, how do I apply this? How do I shift my reality, live without fear, and embrace my eternal presence? The ego's lie, the great trickster. The ego is a master storyteller. It whispers, "You are this body. You are this mind. You are separate from the world around you." It convinces you that you need to achieve, possess, and control to be worthy. It thrives on fear and comparison, feeding on the idea that you are incomplete. This isn't to say the ego is bad. It's a survival mechanism born out of evolution to help you navigate physical reality. But the problem arises when you believe it is you. Spiritual traditions have long recognized the ego's grip on human suffering. In Buddhism, the concept of anatta, non-self, teaches that the self is an illusion. The Hindu scripture Bhagavad Gita echoes this, urging the seeker to go beyond the I and merge with the infinite. Even the teachings of Jesus hinted at this truth when he said, "Deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow me." To transcend the ego is not to destroy it, but to see through its illusion. It's like watching a magician perform a trick. You don't need to banish the magician. You just need to understand how the illusion works. Imagine stripping away everything you associate with your identity. Your name, your job, your relationships, your beliefs. What's left? Most people fear this question because they assume the answer is nothing. But in truth, what remains is everything. Think of it like a wave in the ocean. The wave may see itself as separate, unique in its size, shape, and journey. But when it looks deeper, it realizes it is not separate at all. It is the ocean temporarily expressing itself as a wave. You are like that wave. Your body, personality, and experiences are temporary expressions of the infinite consciousness that is your true nature. When you stop clinging to the story of the wave, you awaken to the ocean's vastness. The ego's grip on fear and desire. The ego operates in two primary modes, fear and desire. It either pulls you towards something it believes will complete you or pushes you away from something it perceives as a threat. But here's the secret. Neither fear nor desire can touch your true self. Fear arises when the ego believes it is finite and fragile. It says, "I must protect myself," even though the self it is protecting is an illusion. Desire, on the other hand, stems from the ego's sense of lack. It says, "If I can just have that, I will be whole," not realizing you are already complete. When you begin to see fear and desire for what they are, egoic constructs, they lose their power. You stop reacting and start observing. In this state of awareness, you can act from a place of love and intuition rather than fear and craving. One of the most powerful tools for transcending the ego is contemplative presence. When you sit in stillness, observing your thoughts without judgment, you begin to see the ego at work. You notice how it clings to the past, projects into the future, and resists the present moment. At first, this can be unsettling. You may feel like you're losing control, but with practice, you'll discover a deeper awareness beneath the chaos. A silent, unchanging presence that simply is. This is your true self. In the words of Rumi, "Don't be satisfied with stories, how things have gone with others. Unfold your own myth." Meditation helps you unfold this myth by revealing the ego's illusions and guiding you back to the infinite presence you truly are. The death and rebirth of the self. Many spiritual traditions speak of a second birth, not a physical one, but a spiritual awakening. This is the moment when the ego's grip loosens and you realize your true nature. It feels like a death because the identity you've clung to dissolves. But it is also a rebirth as you awaken to a life beyond fear, beyond separation, and beyond limitation. The Zen master Shunryu Suzuki once said, "If your mind is empty, it is always ready for anything. It is open to everything." In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. When the ego dissolves, you return to this beginner's mind, a state of infinite potential and creativity. Transcending the ego doesn't mean you abandon the world or stop being human. It means you live with the awareness that you are not just the wave. You are the ocean expressing itself as a wave. In practical terms, this changes everything. You stop taking life so personally because you see the bigger picture. Challenges become opportunities for growth. Relationships become mirrors reflecting your own infinite nature. Even death loses its sting because you know it's not an end, but a transition. This is the freedom the mystics speak of, the freedom to live fully, love deeply, and create fearlessly. But what now? How do you live as the infinite being you are here and now in this human experience? The art of surrender. This is not about mastering techniques or achieving enlightenment. Instead, it's about embracing the art of surrender, letting go of control, aligning with the flow of existence, and living in the truth that you are both the observer and the observed. The word surrender often carries a negative connotation, evoking images of giving up or losing. But spiritual surrender is the opposite. It's a liberation. It's the realization that the smaller self, the ego, doesn't have to carry the weight of the world. Picture a leaf drifting gently down a river. It doesn't fight the current. It moves with it, trusting the flow. This is surrender, trusting the flow of life, knowing that everything is unfolding as it should. The Tao Te Ching captures this perfectly. The master doesn't seek fulfillment. Not seeking, not expecting. She is present and can welcome all things. Surrender isn't about giving up. It's about stepping into alignment with the infinite wisdom that already guides your life. To live as the infinite, you must be fully present. The past is a memory. The future is a projection. Only the present moment is real. Presence is where you connect with your true self. It's where you feel the stillness beneath the noise, the spaciousness beneath the form. It's where life unfolds in its raw, unfiltered beauty. Eckhart Tolle, in The Power of Now, writes, "Realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have. Make the now the primary focus of your life. When you live in the present, fear and anxiety dissolve because they can only exist in the realm of time. Presence doesn't mean you ignore the past or future. It means you stop letting them dominate you. You honor the lessons of the past and plan for the future when necessary, but live here now, fully aware and alive. When you surrender and live in the present, you begin to align with the flow of existence. Life becomes less about effort and more about ease. Synchronicities appear, guiding you toward your highest path. This is not a passive state. It's an active participation in the universe. In Hindu philosophy, this is called karma yoga, the path of action without attachment to the outcome. You do your part, trusting the universe to handle the rest. The ocean doesn't force its waves. The tree doesn't strain to grow. They align with the natural rhythms of existence. You too can live this way. At its core, the infinite is love, not romantic love, but the all-encompassing force that binds everything together. Love is the recognition of oneness. When you love, you see yourself in the other, and the illusion of separation dissolves. The spiritual teacher Ram Dass said, "We're all just walking each other home." This is the essence of love, supporting, accepting, and uplifting each other on this shared journey of existence. When you live from the infinite, love flows effortlessly. You stop seeking it because you realize you are it. You radiate it in your thoughts, words, and actions. Fearlessness through awareness. Living as the infinite doesn't mean life will always be easy. Challenges will arise. Emotions will ebb and flow. But when you live from awareness, even fear loses its grip. Fear arises when the ego feels threatened. But when you know you are the infinite, what is there to fear? Death? Death is just a transition, not an end. Loss? It's an illusion, for nothing real can ever be taken from you. This doesn't mean you suppress fear. You acknowledge it, feel it fully, and let it pass through you like a wave. Fear becomes a teacher, pointing you toward the areas where you are still clinging to the illusion of separation. When you live as the infinite, you become a conscious co-creator of your reality. This isn't about controlling outcomes. It's about aligning with the energy of creation itself. Think of a musician improvising. They don't plan every note. They flow with the music, trusting their intuition. You can live this way, creating your life moment by moment, guided by the infinite intelligence within you. This is where quantum physics meets spirituality. As John Wheeler's participatory universe suggests, you are not a passive observer of reality. You are an active participant. Your thoughts, intentions, and emotions shape the world around you. When you create from the infinite, your actions are not driven by fear or desire, but by love and intuition. You act not to gain or achieve, but to express the infinite through you. As more people awaken to their infinite nature, the world will transform. Imagine a world where people live from love instead of fear, unity instead of division, presence instead of distraction. This is not a utopian fantasy. It's a natural evolution. The world you see is a reflection of the consciousness you bring to it. When you awaken, you don't just change your life, you change the world. And so we return to the beginning. You were never born and you will never die. You are not the wave, but the ocean. Not the story, but the storyteller. Not the finite, but the infinite. As you move forward, remember this. This life is not a puzzle to solve or a destination to reach. It is a dance, a play, a song. The existence loop is infinite, and you are its eternal rhythm. Surrender to it, flow with it, be it. For you are not a human having a spiritual experience. You are the infinite expressing itself as human.